Good evening and welcome to the Year 12 launch for 2021. It's very nice to be able to take you through a few things, a few important items, and this really is directed to parents and carers of our Year 12 students. Our students have seen much of this presentation already in an assembly on the first day, but we thought that parents and carers also need this information so that they're in the picture about how Year 12 starts and some of the processes that take place during these early months and also what's going to happen throughout the rest of this year. So firstly, welcome, as I said before, and these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about here. I'm not going to read out that list, but we'll go through each of these items. They're not in any particular order of importance, but they are generally all important as we begin this new Year 12. So it'd be nice if you could, you'll have a copy of this obviously on the website, and if you want to refer back to any of these things, then please do. And just to say that there is a question and answer session tomorrow evening after this has gone out to you. That's the Wednesday, 22nd of September. And anything that comes up in here that you want to ask questions about, then please, if you haven't already, book in and one of the sixth form team will be talking to you about these things. So I thought we'd start with some messages from our leavers, Year 13 that have just gone. And there's a few messages here that I'm putting on the screen. You can see most of them are directed towards our current Year 12. I asked them, what would you like to say to our Year 12s? How would you tell them to approach their work? And you can see some of the responses there. And I have to say, many of them were all about not wasting time, not leaving things to the last minute and making every second of Year 12 count. As you can see there, the bottom one, it's a bit boring to say, it's one of our students, but it's true. If you work hard, you do end up with what you want. And that is generally what we found happening last year. Students that worked hard and made it count did end up with their university of choice or their career of choice or their apprenticeship of choice. So it stands to reason that our students in Year 12 now need to be doing the same thing. So just a few messages there that are important that we shared with our Year 12s on the first day. A couple of messages from us as a sixth form team. We really ask that students read emails. It's a simple thing, but lots of messages are so important throughout Year 12 and into Year 13 that we really need them to be looking at messages that we sent and reading them properly, because it could be some important information that they need at that particular time. So that's a little plea and a little message from us. We do try to keep in contact with parents. Each week we send out the Hills Herald, as we've called it. That's information about what's coming up in the week ahead. So all parents and carers will receive that if you have a son or a daughter in Year 12. And that will give you information, as I say, about important upcoming events. Now, mentioning the sixth form team there, better tell you who to contact and what you might be contacting them about. We have a general sixth form email there, sixth@bingleygrammar.org. So if you don't quite know who to address your query to, then that's the address to go for. But here are our personnel this year. We have Mrs. Booth, and her email address is there. Mrs. Booth is very much our wise person of UCAS. She looks after all the applications and all the information to do with UCAS and gives excellent advice to our students on how to apply and where to apply. So really, if it's anything to do with UCAS or university applications, if it's anything to do with course changes or queries about courses, then Mrs. Booth is the person to go to. We have Mrs. Bradley, who is our student support officer for sixth form. So any pastoral issues, any difficulties students have on a personal basis, then they would approach Mrs. Bradley. And again, she's been with us for a long time now, excellent, and has excellent relationships with our students. So a brilliant person to go to if that's what you need. We have Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown is now our assistant head of sixth form. So again, general, all sorts of information you can pass through to Mr. Brown and he will deal with that. Mrs. Durrans is no longer part of the sixth form team within the Hills, but she has gone to sort of take on a whole school role to do with careers and apprenticeships. But she still has a lot of dealings with sixth form, understandably, and so her email address is there, and she will be interacting with our students quite a lot over year 12 and year 13 anyway. Mrs. Kennett has joined us. She's now doing our administrative duties within sixth form. She also looks after our attendance records. So anything to do with attendance, it might be Miss Kennett that is contacting you. And of course, there's me at the bottom there. So again, a bit like Mr. Brown, any questions, general queries, anything to do with anything, by all means, you can contact me about that too. We do have form tutors for our year 12s. It will be later in the year that they're assigned to them. It's almost like a virtual form tutor. They don't have specific form time with our students, but they do have Zoom time. They do have a chance to correspond via email. And usually the tutors are helping with the personal statements that students have when they're applying to university. So they're assisted by tutors at this. It's just another person to go to, really, to give them another angle on their applications to university and any other matters that are pertaining to sixth form at that time. So we do have tutors, but not in the traditional sense of going to a classroom and having lessons with them, but they are on hand for help at any point. Now, a little word about timetables and lanyards. On the screen now, you can see the new timetable, the new structure of the day. I'm not expecting you to understand that immediately. It takes a little while to get your head around it. The students have pretty much got used to it already, so that's really good. But there are some new timings there. You can see, I suppose the headlines really are all Key Stage 5 lessons are double periods. So periods 2, 3 and 4 are 80 minutes in duration. Period 1 is the longest lesson, it's 90 minutes. And there are some split lunches and breaks that come between lessons or during a lesson. But the students seem to have dealt with that very, very quickly and very easily. I suppose the thing that I need to impart to you as parents and carers is that we all kind of support our students in making sure they know their start times and they avoid any lateness to lessons. And I'll come on to when they're expected to be in lessons and study periods shortly. A legal requirement of the sixth form is that we have to wear lanyards at all times. I'm wearing mine now. Woe be the day when I forget it, because I think I'll have hundreds of students reminding me. But we must wear them. If a student forgets their lanyard, then they have to pick a spare up from student reception for the day. The only problem with that is it's not sort of registered, so therefore they can't use the gates within the school until the end or the beginning of the day. So it would mean that if they are able to leave at any point, they're not able on the spare lanyard, so they will have to wait until the end of the day. So our advice really is that they shouldn't forget their lanyard. It's going to help them remember to wear it at all times, because it allows them access to and from school within the school day. Otherwise, they will have to wait till the end of it. We got our students to sign a code of conduct on their first day. Just a little word about that, really. We'll start with the dress code, which we get a lot of interest in and questions about, and we try to be as relaxed as possible to do with our dress code, but still keeping in the realms of suitability. So what we ask for, in inverted commas there, is appropriate dress. We don't put business dress, as some sixth forms do, because we do allow jeans for our students, and that really would sort of write that off. But of course, if those jeans are ripped and leave nothing to the imagination, then we're probably going to say something about it. So that little term that we've got underneath there, the sixth form team reserves the right to make the final decisions about appropriate or inappropriate attire. We will say something if we think there is an issue, and we like to keep it as relaxed as that. So far, Year 12 and Year 13 have been exemplary in the way that they've used the dress code, which makes that trust go that little bit further. So that's what we like to work with, that trust with our students, that they're not going to take it to the nth degree. So that's part of the code of conduct. What else are they signing up to within it? Well, it's to do with punctuality, behaviour and attendance, really, and making sure that our students have the necessary percentages of those things that are going to guarantee them some success. As we said there, students are agreeing really to the levels that will guarantee them success by signing up to this code of conduct. And I suppose everybody's going to trust us on this one. If a student's attendance drops, if a student's behaviour is not what we expect it to be, then we will step in, we will inform parents and carers, and we will deal with it accordingly. And it's not to be kind of draconian over these things. It's more that we're trying to get that student to get the best out of themselves, and if there is anything getting in the way of that, we would like to share that with parents and deal with the problem at source. So a full copy of that code of conduct will be sent to you electronically as parents very, very soon. And you'll see within it what the various stages of what happens when, if a student is misbehaving in some way, what happens next, what the reporting system will be, and how that all works. So I'm sharing that with you, but as I say, I want you to trust us on this one. This is all about guaranteeing that students will have the punctuality, the behaviour and the attendance that are going to guarantee them getting the best grades and the best results possible. Wednesday study days are an important aspect of the school week. They are a provision that we've given to students so that they can build their own independence. It gives them time on a Wednesday to work from home, to work on any project work they've got, homework, any other aspects of research that they need to do. And a lot of our students respond to this really, really well. It gives them, I suppose, a little taste of university life further down the line when they need to work off their own backs and be responsible for their learning themselves. Not all of our students have a completely free day on the Wednesdays. Some of them do have some lessons on them, but the majority of our students have at least a morning or an afternoon, if not the whole day, which will be devoted to their own personal study. We will be using some of these Wednesdays throughout the year for PSHCE drop-downs. That means we'll be inviting students in. We've got various external speakers that are going to come in and advise students on things that matter to them. We may be using some of them for the filling in of UCAS forms and personal statements, as well as looking at apprenticeships and careers advice. So we will be using a lot more of those Wednesdays this year now that we are hopefully COVID free. We're able to get a little bit of that off the ground and get our students in for those days. We also use Wednesdays throughout the whole year for catch-up. Now, sometimes students get behind with their work. Staff may notify us and just say that there's a particular issue with a particular student falling behind in a certain area. Might be through no fault of the students at all. It could be due to illness or something else that's happened in the student's life. And so what we tend to do is invite students in, and they can catch up on any work in a supervised way during a Wednesday. So that happens pretty much every Wednesday, and we'll be starting that off towards the end of this half term as students begin to get into the rigors of their courses. So that's Catch Up Wednesdays. I suppose you could view it as a positive detention for some. We don't keep students after school. We instead invite them in to do a constructive detention, and that is basically catching up with work in most cases. We ask, and this is a plea from us really, that we never have to have an issue with a student not being able to attend on a Wednesday, because there's going to be some important stuff taught on Wednesdays. Because of a part-time job or anything else, we need to remember that they are full-time students. So we don't really want that to be an obstacle. If we're calling in students on a Wednesday, we need them to be there, and they need to make the necessary arrangements to be there when we call in. And to be fair on this, we'll try and advertise any times when students are going to be needed on Wednesdays well in advance so that people know. Of course, some students will not need to catch up. They just like to work in school. They may have reasons for preferring to work in school. So we do say that anyone is welcome to come and work in our study areas within the hills in sixth form. They just need to let us know that they're going to do that in advance so that we know who's in the building. So it's open to all, as you can see. A few little changes about study periods and entries and exits this year, which kind of all sort of join together. Our students in year 12 who have periods 1 and 4 blank, they do not need to be in school for blank periods, lessons 1 and 4 only, that is. So if their first lesson is period 2, then they can arrive in good time for 10 a.m. when lesson 2 starts, for example. And that's why I mentioned before about the lanyards and the importance of having them, because they would need to use the turnstiles rather than the main gates if they're arriving after the beginning or the ending of the day. So our year 12 students are not permitted to be off the school premises at any other time. So that means if they do have a period 2 or 3 blank, they still have to be in school for periods 2 and 3 and using the study areas in the hills if they don't have a lesson. Obviously, if they're in lessons, they're going to be in the classroom anyway. They will also remain on site for break and lunch because these fall during periods 2 and 3. So basically what we're saying, in the core of the day, periods 2 and 3, all year 12 students are in school either studying or in lessons. But periods 1 and 4, they're able to leave or to arrive late, as the case may be. After the main gates are closed, period 1, and before they're opened at period 4, the only access into the building is through the turnstile next to student reception, which I'll show you a picture of in a second. Now, we're going to review this at half term. If we find that our students are doing all of this brilliantly, they're exemplary with their behaviour, and they're doing everything as we ask them to do in lessons, then we might put them in line with what our year 13s have, and that is the freedom to leave and to go to and from school during any study period and breaks and lunchtime. So really it's an incentive. We just want to keep an eye on them at first in year 12, make sure everything's okay, and then by the end of half term, quite a lot of our students may find that they have additional freedoms added to this. I just want to say something about minimum expected grades, because these are coming up very soon. I realise my slides are slightly out of order now. I was going to show you the turnstiles, but that's coming up in a moment. But just a little word about minimum expected grades. They will be coming up very, very soon. They cause a little bit of a stir sometimes. They're issued mid to late September. Now, these are calculated using GCSE grades Alps use their own system to generate them. There's various algorithms that are used, and if I mention that the word algorithm, we know that sometimes they can throw up some strange and interesting results. So just a little word of caution that sometimes students can be surprised at how high or low in nature these minimum expected grades can be. So the basic message about these grades when they appear is that these are the very minimum that the student should be working towards, and that's how to treat it. They're not targets to aim for, they are really the minimum that a student should be achieving. Some students may find they're already achieving above that MEG, that minimum expected grade, absolutely fine. Some will work towards it, but the expectation is that they don't stop when they get to that minimum expected grade. They push forward and try and get even higher than that. So basically, any queries when these come out, we get them each year when they're issued. Any queries on these MEGs when they come out, just see the sixth form team or contact the sixth form team, and we'll talk you through the ins and outs of what that student has got those grades for. So going back to study periods, entries and exits, I just wanted to show you the turnstiles that the students will be using. They're found at the main reception. It's quite a simple system. They just scan and go through. So they will be the turnstiles that are used during the school day, not at the beginning and at the end. A little word about enrichment. We like our students to get involved with activities beyond the academic, because universities, if you're applying for an apprenticeship, if you're going into a career, everybody wants to see that you've got more strings to your bow than just the academic rigors of A-level. So there's a few things that I've just put up there that we've done in the past. Some of those we'll be doing again. You can see, for example, paired reading is where students in sixth form help with our students in lower school with their literacy and help with their reading skills, read with them and listen to them reading. It's one area that students can quite easily get involved with, and it's something that they can then put on their personal statements later. And it is often an impressive way of showing a university or a job or an apprenticeship that you have this other area that you have got involved with during your sixth form life. So those things will be available. What will happen is a program of enrichment activities will be released very, very soon, and we expect our students to sign up to those, and we'll try and get as many as we can doing some kind of enrichment throughout the rest of year 12 and year 13. And then a little word about the extended project qualification as well. This is an area that we think students can take advantage of, particularly if they're applying to universities. It's a project that we are asking some year 12s to get involved with. So it's appearing on their timetables with that particular EX code. Your son and daughter will tell you about it if they have been put on this course. We don't want them to panic about it, because it may be the reason why they get into their university of choice. It's worth an AS level and the UCAS points that go with that. And we found that many of our students last year that took the EPQ, they were able to just get over the threshold when they were asked for certain UCAS points of entry. So it was a very useful thing for them. Now, I am overseeing this, and we've tried to focus on students that would really benefit from doing this project. And very simply, it's a project that they take on over the course of the year. They can do it on any subject they like that has some academic rigor, of course. It's a 5,000 word essay, but it's also more to do with the information they gather and the research that they do. So we find that it's actually an excellent tool in preparing our students for university anyway, where they'll be expected to work in this way. So what we've done, we've timetabled it into lessons this year. I will be seeing students, they won't necessarily be at every single lesson every week. It might be that I'm calling them in to see how their project is going intermittently. But they have the rest of this year to get that one done. Students that aren't invited to do this first time around, who are interested in doing an EPQ, will be having an assembly on that shortly, and they can ask me about getting involved with that maybe later in year 12 or possibly even in year 13 to complete an EPQ. So it's a very useful tool that students have, and as I say, it gains them in a really workable way some extra UCAS points. So I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Brown, who's going to talk to you. A little bit of school life there with the bell going off. He's going to talk to you about some calendar events and also about head boy and head girl applications and student council that will be taking place in the near future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore, and good evening to everybody. I'm going to talk you through some of the calendar events that we've got for year 12 this year. Obviously tonight, we've got the launch evening video, and then followed by the question and answer session via Zoom tomorrow. As part of our enrichment program, we have 3 PSHC days outlined for year 12 this year. The first one in November has a real focus on health and well-being. In March, we look ahead to year 13, when we have a focus on careers and UCAS applications. And then in July, a real focus on e-safety. There's definitely a date for your diaries there on the 6th of January when we're having a year 12 parents evening, whichever format that should take. Another exciting opportunity that some of the year 12s might want to get involved with will be applying to be part of our bigger student rep team. Our head boy and head girl are always drawn from year 13, but we definitely want some year 12 to get involved this year. And you never know, it might lead to them becoming your head girl or head boy next year, which would be really exciting. There was an email sent out on the 14th of September letting you book sessions for the question and answer session tomorrow night. There may still be some slots available. If for any reason you can't get through or you can't get a slot and you still have some questions, please get in touch with the team and we'll be really happy to help you out with any questions that you have. And that's everything from me, so thanks for listening, and over to Mrs. Booth. Good night.
Hopefully everyone will have received the email sent last week about the 16 to 19 bursary. But just very briefly, the bursary is an award to students to help with some of the costs of continuing in education, for example, buying textbooks or travelling to and from school. So students who receive free school meals or who live in a household where the income is £25,000 a year or less, or who have been in care or who receive certain benefits in their own name are eligible to apply for the bursary. So application forms are available now from Mrs. Kennett or Mrs. Bradley, and we ask that completed application forms are returned to their office before the end of September. If anyone has any queries about the bursary or needs any help completing the form, then please contact Mrs. Kennett as she will be able to help. So throughout Year 12, students receive a lot of advice from us about UCAS and careers. And as the majority of our students do apply for higher education, we do begin the UCAS process quite early in Year 12. So students will shortly be receiving a Unifrog account, and they can use this to research their university options as well as looking for other opportunities. Around January time, they'll be allocated a tutor who will help them with their application and help them especially with that personal statement later on in Year 12. So one aspect of applying to university which students can find confusing are entry requirements, as some universities ask for specific grades and others require certain UCAS points. So UCAS do provide a really useful online tariff calculator, and this is to check how many UCAS points a particular grade is awarded. So for example, an A grade at A level is awarded 48 UCAS points, and a distinction at the extended certificate is also awarded 48 UCAS points. I think one important factor as well for students to be aware of is that all their Year 12 examination grades need to be included in their UCAS application. So those Year 12 grades are really important. They do give universities often an idea of how students will perform in their final exams at the end of Year 13. I think as well, our top recurring tip for Year 12 students is to keep on top of the work, but keep on top as well of any emails that you receive from us so that they don't miss out on any opportunities. We quite frequently talk to students at the end of their Year 12 studies, and they say how quickly the year has flown by, and they wish that perhaps they'd worked harder at the beginning and sort of taken advantage of all the opportunities there. So we hope that our new Year 12 students will listen to all our advice and do everything that we ask of them, so that when they finish Year 12, they can look back on the year and be really proud of what they've achieved. So I'll now pass you over again to Mr. Moore.
So thank you, Mr. Brown and Mrs. Booth there. So finally, what's left to say? Well, basically, there's the message for Year 12. Make Year 12 count. Work to the best of your ability. That's what we're asking our students to do. And with parental support and carers support with all of this, then there's a nice kind of system set up there that we can make sure that our students are living up to their full potential. So thank you for listening to this presentation and for taking the time out to be involved in it. We really look forward to seeing you and hearing you tomorrow with our question and answer, as Mr. Brown was saying. So please, if you haven't already, sign up to that, and one of us will be talking to you tomorrow night. So we wish you all the best, and we wish our students all the best, and we look forward to speaking to you and seeing you in due course over the next 2 years of our sixth formers career. Good night.